Now,
on News Talk 105.9 WMAL.
O'Connor and Company.
It's 7:06 now. It's O'Connor and Company on this Wednesday morning. Thanks for joining us. Coming up in 30 minutes, we'll talk to Superintendent Mark Taylor out of Spotsylvania County. Big happenings down there. 8:05, Hans von Spakovsky of Heritage Foundation. Talk about the latest Trump indictments and whether any of this is legal. And then at 8:35, Tom Bevan from Real Clear Politics. Talk about the politics of all of it and how it might be affecting the presidential race. That's coming up. It's Larry O'Connor alongside Julie Gunlock.
Good morning.
Good morning to you. And joining us right now is the president of Judaical Watch, the FOIA warrior of our times. He is Tom Fitton. Good morning, Tom. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Larry. Good morning, Julie.
Well, speaking of FOIAs, but boy, I would love to find out the internal communications at the Justice Department and with the White House and the Delaware U.S. Attorney's Office for the events leading up to this extraordinary appointment last Friday. How much does this stink?
I call it a sick joke. I mean, they get caught with this rigged plea deal. It wasn't even a sweetheart plea deal. It was kind of rigged to avoid judicial scrutiny, and the judge exercised it to her credit. And and the responsible party, David Weiss, the U.S. attorney in Delaware, appointed with the approval of two Democrats in the Senate by President Trump, and then reappointed by Biden, who left him there. Mm-hmm. He's rewarded with a special counsel slot that further compromises and undermines people's confidence that either the Hunter Biden or related Joe Biden crimes will be fairly investigated.
And so at this point, I mean, I predicted last week that I don't think it would stand, although I got to say, I mean, Republicans were all saying the right things Friday night and over the weekend, but they're all in recess now. They're pretty silent. Yeah. I mean, is there any pressure right now for this to be reversed or for maybe impeachment to start going forward, as Joe DeGeneres suggested on Monday, that's, forget about demanding a new special counsel, just move right forward to impeachment, because this is part of the cover-up. This is part of obstruction of justice.
The Justice Department can't be trusted. It's ethically compromised. I don't know if it's redeemable in its current form. So that, I think, is true. Congress is on vacation till September 12th.
What? Why didn't
September 12th? It's a 7-week recess, and there's still almost 4 weeks of it. Yeah. So I don't know. Does the station give you 4 weeks off in a row? I mean, 7 weeks in a row?
Tom, I would love to hire you as my new agent if you could negotiate something like that.
I demand it.
But Tom,
well, and the point is, if this was a crisis, right? Then why isn't Congress? Why isn't the House in session? Yeah. Why isn't McCarthy called the House back?
Yeah. Tom, do you think, we've seen Dan Goldman, the mouthpiece for the White House, trotted out. He's a multimillionaire, doesn't worry about reelection, defending the president. But we've seen a pretty much silence from other Democrats. We talked about Republican silence, but I think it's more significant that Democrats aren't talking about this. I mean, when these indictments came out, AOC did a video on makeup that weekend.
Sunscreen.
That's right. Thank you.
Sunscreen.
Yeah. So, I mean, what do you make of that? Do you think we're going to have any kind of Jesus moment? Is a Democrat going to sort of break ranks and come out and say, this is concerning? What are your thoughts?
I mean, that may happen, but it won't be a substantial concern or get much media traction. This is where the congressional recess benefits Democrats, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're not in town. No one's to a degree anyone would even bother asking you many questions from their, the allied media isn't terribly interested in pressing them on this. But they're really protected. And it's a terrible situation. I think, if you count the superseding indictment, Trump's been indicted about one time a month in the last 5 months.
Yeah.
And all with the goal of jailing him next year. And establishment Washington, both Republicans and Democrats, think it's normal. I mean, you see commentary on the news talking about the substantive charges and whether he'd be able to beat him or not. So as if that's the standard. I mean, this is not a rule of law situation in the sense that he violated any laws that typically would be applied or violated any laws at all. It's pure power politics. But in Washington, they don't care if there's a man going to go to jail and become the most famous political prisoner in the world.
Tom Fitton is our guest from Judaical Watch. Tom, I always try to find a silver lining, and some people have pointed to these indictments in Georgia in particular as a real opportunity for President Trump to use his ability to gather evidence for his defense to actually point out the extraordinary irregularities that happened in Fulton County and in other jurisdictions as well, and actually said, I had every reason to believe that this election was completely adjudicated or administered in an inappropriate and perhaps even illegal way, and everything that I said was completely supported by facts and advice from my lawyers. I mean, is that a way of looking at this? Yes, it's extraordinary that they brought these charges, but listen, Trump keeps talking about the 2020 election and how he was robbed, and this is his chance to have his day in court, I suppose.
Well, and obviously he has to engage in a defense, right? You don't just shut it down. And I think his legal team should do everything they can under the law to protect him. His life is on the line here. They wouldn't have put him in jail for hundreds of years. Do I think it's going to do any good? No. I mean, I just don't see how of the 4 jurisdictions he gets exonerated in all of them. He's going to get convicted somewhere if these go to trial.
Yeah,
and
certainly here in D.C. if he gets a D.C. jury.
And the question is he going to go to jail? In the short term, and I mean by in the middle of the primary season. Incredible situation we're in, and this is why McCarthy and the House should be doing everything they can to shut all this down.
Yeah.
Responsible officials in Georgia should be immediately reacting to this by trying to shut down this abuse of his civil rights and the civil rights of those others who were indicted down there.
Yeah.
This is where the frustration is, I think, by many Americans, is they know this is all abusive, and the responsible officials don't seem terribly interested in doing much about it.
Yeah.
Which makes me think the responsible officials, maybe they see benefit from it. I don't know.
Tom Fitton from Judaical Watch, I would love for you to react to, considering you and your organization were instrumental in revealing Hillary Clinton's use of a private email server during her time as Secretary of State. People might remember that story a little bit. The fact that MSNBC had her on to give her opinion on the charges against Donald Trump for election denial, and she actually had the audacity to say, "Well, yeah, but no one's above the law." I mean, the audacity. It's almost like they're just thumbing their nose right at us and laughing in our face, Tom.
Well, she and her allies in the Obama administration and deep state spent 2 years trying to put President Trump in jail on the theory that the election was stolen in 2016, right?
Yeah.
But we can talk about the idea that Hillary should have been indicted or was never sufficiently investigated, and all the other Democrats who aren't subject to the same standards as Trump. And I keep on saying it's not a double standard; it's a single standard. They protect their own and they go after their enemies. What was that famous Trump? What was that line that Obama said? We protect our friends, we reward our friends, and target our enemies.
Reward our friends and target our enemies. He said that during.
I mean, that's not a double standard. That's a very easy. That's a single standard.
Yeah. And
that's what's going on here. And the Justice Department, I think we should expect, doesn't do that. And they've done it from time and time, again, in individual cases. There's no doubt, right?
Yeah.
But the veil's been lifted here. I mean, it's a purely political operation at the Justice Department when it comes to the targeting of Trump, and as we began the conversation, the obstruction of justice to protect the Biden crime family.
Tom Fitton, judicialwatch.org. Did I mention they were the ones who discovered the emails from Hillary Clinton's private saver? Yeah, that's why you want to be part of judicialwatch.org. Thank you, Tom. Always good to talk to you.
You're welcome.
It's 7:16.
It's here. Download the new WMAL app and listen anywhere you go, anytime you want.
Just an update here on some of the great reporting that Nick Minnock is doing at WJLA. Yesterday, we followed up on his coverage of the scandal involving junkets, taxpayer-funded junkets to Uruguay and Ghana.
Two luxury hotels in Uruguay and Ghana.
On United highest level business class.
That's right.
And again, they claimed they were there doing business with their sister cities, but they were at the beach, they were at a
sister
winery.
Cities that don't result in any real revenue.
They claimed that it was $1.73 billion and 2,500 jobs, but as we reported yesterday...
You submitted a Freedom of Information request. Now, 7 News has the list of companies that make up Randall's, Turner's, and Briskman's claims. According to the list, it appears none of the companies that make up their $1.37 billion of commercial investment claim are from Loudoun County sister cities. None. When you look at the county's list, a company from the Netherlands makes up more than $1 billion of Randall's, Turner's, and Briskman's $1.37 billion commercial investment claim.
That's
Loudoun
right.
County does not have a sister city in the Netherlands.
They claim that all of this, traveling to Ghana brought $1.7 billion. Then when they give you the actual information, the foreign investment in Loudoun County is coming from every country but Ghana in Uruguay.
Lidl.
Yeah.
There's like 5 Lidls in Loudoun County. That generates more money
There you go.
than these other so-called sister cities.
So Nick Minnock over at Channel 7 continues to dig. Okay, so why did they go to Ghana? Why was it so important to establish this? He may have found the answer.
Loudoun County. A video on YouTube of Randall's speech in April shows why she may have chosen to pick a sister city in Ghana.
Enter a man named Kingsley Obaji, who said to me, "You have to go to Ghana."
Kingsley Obaje's wife donated to Randall's and Vice Chair Karan Sain's political campaigns.
And Kingsley kept going, "You have to go to Ghana." And so Kingsley comes in with me, has this whole presentation of why you go to Ghana. And he had me this close. We talked about the shopping. We have an economy like Loudoun County and Accra. We have people in Accra really seem to care about education. Education is a huge thing for Loudoun County.
There you go. So that's Phyllis Randall, the center of this storm. She's the supervisor, or she's the chair of the Board of Supervisors in Loudoun County. She's giving a speech talking about this guy, Kingsley. His name is Kingsley Obaji. And she said, you heard her say, enter a man named Kingsley Obaji who said, you've got to go to Ghana. And
got
she goes
to go to Ghana.
It goes on and on and on about all these reasons why, and all this pressure she was getting from this guy who says, you got to go to Ghana, you got to go to Ghana, you got to go to Ghana. Kingsley Obaji, his wife made a huge donation to Phyllis Randall's campaign. So as a payback, she goes to Ghana at his request. And when I say payback, literally a lot of money was spent, upwards to $100,000 on both of these trips combined.
Taxpayer dollars.
And it's our dollars.
Yep.
She gets the donation to her campaign. Then she gets to go on the luxury junket to Ghana and get celebrated as the top elected official in Loudoun County.
Right.
And she does it all on our dime, on taxpayer money. It's the oldest corruption scam in the book.
Yeah, and then she tries to pass it off as good for the county.
Yes.
She lies about it.
That's right.
And then refused to give the information on just what money actually does come in until Nick Minnock then FOIA'd the information, which showed there's no money coming in from these sister cities.
Yeah, I only wish there was an election coming up where the voters could actually... Oh, there is an election coming up this November.
She should resign way before
She
then.
really should, in scandal, or there should be an investigation from Jason Miyares. That said, Jason Miyares is busy looking into Fairfax County and their withholding of merit awards for students at Thomas Jefferson High School. And he's asked for information. He wants the school system to provide information so that he can finish his investigation. And a judge in Fairfax County has stepped in now and prohibited the Attorney General from getting that information from the Fairfax County
Is
Public
that about
Schools.
protecting our own?
Well, yeah. And I don't know. I mean, the Fairfax County Public School System keeps saying that they didn't do anything wrong. So I would think they would readily volunteer.
That's right.
I mean, the only reason you would not want to give your emails and your correspondence to the Attorney General is if it shows that you lied about this. I mean, you want to prove you didn't do anything wrong, be completely transparent.
Why is this judge even stepping in?
Good question. I guess that's how business is done in Fairfax County.
So.
It's 7:23. All right. Well, listen, we led off this morning talking about the developments in Spotsylvania County Public Schools, where they have now voted, the first district, I think, in the Commonwealth of Virginia to adopt Governor Glenn Youngkin's model policies for school systems.
Yeah.
Coming up, we're going to speak with the superintendent of Spotsylvania County Public Schools, who spearheaded this. Last time we had him on, I wanted to do 4 hours with him. He's great. You're going to love him. You're ready to move to Spotsylvania.
I'm ready to move.
Yeah. Mark Taylor, superintendent, joins us next. It's 7:36, O'Connor and Company, Wednesday, the 16th day of August. Coming up later in this program at 8:05, Hansman Spikoski of Heritage. He's a former lawyer at the Justice Department. Will get his impression on all the stuff going on with Biden and Trump. And then at 8:35, Tom Bevan, Real Clear Politics, will give us his opinion on the political fallout, as New Hampshire is pretty much looking like a done deal already 1 week before the GOP debate. I'm Larry O'Connor alongside Julie Gunlock.
Good morning.
Good morning, Julie. We began the day giving everybody an update on how things are going in the Spotsylvania County school system, with a whole lot of motion there with that new school board and the new superintendent, Mark Taylor, and he joins us now. Mr. Superintendent, thanks for joining us.
Oh, thank you, Larry. Good morning.
Good morning. Monday, you had a vote. Was it Monday or this week? You had a vote on the new model policies from Governor Youngkin. And it's funny, everyone in the media is calling these controversial. Can you tell us the policy that you've adopted now in Spotsylvania so we can understand why it's so controversial?
Well, I think, first of all, it's the model policy on ensuring privacy, dignity, and respect for all students and parents in Virginia's public schools. From at least the biggest impression of it that I have is that perhaps the challenging words in here for some folks are the words "and parents," because what we see this
controversial.
It's reaffirming the parents' role. And I got to tell you, parental involvement is so critical to us in public education right now. And it's not just about gender issues or adolescence issues or even book-related issues. It's about the fundamental issue of attendance. You know, the last time I was on, we talked about how we were just going gangbusters to hire teachers. We have an average vacancy rate of only 2.2 in each of our buildings, so we're doing fantastic. We have a wonderful assembly of gifted and talented people that are fully armed intellectually, that's armed intellectually, everybody, and socially, to instruct your children, and we want to give them our very best, and guess what? They can't get it if they don't show up. Yeah. And attendance is an epidemic problem in public education, not just in Spotsylvania, but across the state. We're at all-time highs. My personal theory of it, Larry, is that I think the biggest thing that COVID taught society as a whole is that some family-oriented getaways are cheaper during the school year. You know, you can take the family to Disney World at a discount. At least you used to be able to do that in October. And so it has become a school optional sort of a culture where we're seeing attendance at crisis levels, really, as low as in the kindergarten years and all the way through to 12th grade.
Interesting.
Wow.
Now, you know, we're used to the idea that 12th graders kind of, you know, are challenged to get to school. Let's finish your diploma. I know you want to get on with life. We really want to, our mission is to prepare you for a great life. We can't give you what we've got. We can't impart to you the knowledge and insight and wisdom that we have. We can't give you the activities that we offer if you don't show up. That's simple.
part of that, though, is working with the parents, and you've made clear that you respect parents. Part of attendance is reaching out to parents. What are you doing to convey that? I mean, it's really hard to convince a 12th grader maybe, but what are you doing to encourage parents to not take those vacations during the school year and maybe make sure that their kids are actually going to school?
We are working on communication in a lot of different modes, including facing the realization that we have more than 40 different languages spoken by our student body, which means there are more than 40 different languages spoken at home. And we've got to make sure that we are crossing language barriers and cultural lines and getting the word across to parents in language that they can understand. Those 40 languages represent immigration to the United States, and that's wonderful. We want these kids to have opportunity. Some of them come from cultures where school doesn't run as long or for as many years as school in the United States does. Yeah. We need to make sure that these parents understand that we have opportunity for their child. We will prepare them for their best future if they will keep sending them to school and give us a chance. And we want to get that word out in every language to every family so that all can understand it together. We also want to engage parents about attendance, about activities, and about other issues relating to their child's education. So we think it's wonderful that "and parents" are two words in this policy because that involvement is critical.
Well, and I think I think you're right that COVID sort of sent this message that going to school is optional. You don't have to be there. You can just pick up at home, and we need to get back to where kids are actually attending and actually learning while they're at school. Just to be clear, as of now, Spotsylvania Public Schools, boys and girls will go to their properly assigned facilities based on their biological sex. Children will be addressed by their actual birth given name and treated as their birth given sex and gender, unless, by the way, the parents, again, back to those parents, Superintendent Taylor, if a parent comes in and says, listen, our child is going through this, their child is transitioning, we want you to call Jimmy Jane from now on, then, of course, you will respect that. But the parents drive it, not the teacher, not the administration, right?
Right. It is a parent that operation, that dynamic requires parental involvement.
That's huge.
And that's what we want to see.
All right. Real fast, because this is your first school year that's about to start as superintendent, right? You're new in the job.
Yes, sir.
So, again, I'd love for you to address the one thing that always comes up whenever we have you on is, well, that guy, he doesn't have any educational background, so what's he doing being a school superintendent? Just sort of address that again for people and talk about what your plans are for this upcoming school year that might be different than what we're used to.
Well, thanks. Sure, Larry. The first thing to understand is the sheer magnitude and scope of the job. I'm not installed as a school principal or as a teacher. I'm the leader of an organization of 4,000 employees that is serving a student body of 24,000 students. And so this is really the position of superintendent is driven by needs of organizational leadership, budgeting, long-range vision and planning, facilities management, and other issues that are common to large organizations. Mm-hmm. I have relevant experience in large organizations. I came with relevant experience in Virginia local government of 30 years and 14 of those years in Spotsylvania County. I know the county very well, and in fact, in the 10 years, in 10 of the years that I worked for Spotsylvania County previously, during the growth boom from the late 90s to the end of the 2000s, we built 8 of the 30 facilities in the Spotsylvania Public Schools during that time. So awareness of the facilities, understanding of the financing. This spring, my budget team, putting together the budget, one of the observations I had from our chief business officer is, Mr. Taylor, we've never had a superintendent who actually understood the budget before.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. We got to leave it there. Sadly, we always want more time with you, Mark Taylor, so don't be a stranger. We'll have you back, and maybe we'll hear from you about how the school year is going once it's underway. Mark Taylor, thanks for joining us.
Would love to come back and talk about books. Got great things going on with books.
Yes.
I know. We'll do that next time. Superintendent Mark Taylor, Spotsylvania County Public Schools. And the bottom line here is this is a job of management and organization and leadership. And honestly,
he's ideal for the job. He's perfect for the job.
You do not need, I'll say it again, to be a superintendent of schools, you do not need a doctorate in education.
You do not.
No,
in fact,
you really don't.
Probably shouldn't.
It probably gets in the way of some common sense. It's 7:46. Boy, it pains us to point out how bad the government of the District of Columbia has become, but it's because I believe that the whole home rule thing is a experiment that, we have the results now, and it's a failed experiment, and we should pull home rule back. Congress should retake its authority. And here's evidence item number 1,362. Remember back in 2020 during the Black Lives Matter protests, right? Mm-hmm. And you had protests in favor of Black Lives Matters, painting messages everywhere, on private property, on public property, on the streets, chalking everywhere, right? No one arrested. But there was also a pro-life protest going on in the same summer. It was headed by the Frederick Douglass Foundation, thank you very much, who didn't like black babies being murdered in the womb, and Students for Life of America. And they wrote in chalk the message, Black Lives Matter, the actual message was Black Preborn Lives Matter. They wrote it twice on a public sidewalk, and they were arrested. Now, that sounds like it's viewpoint discrimination, doesn't it?
It does.
It sounds like the police and the government here in D.C., who give the police their marching orders,
are ignoring.
was saying, if they write this political message, we'll allow it. But if they write that political message, you'll arrest them.
It's right crime.
But guess what? A D.C. Court of Appeals just agreed with them. Just agreed that it is viewpoint discrimination.
Good.
Federal Appeals Court ruled 3-0 yesterday that D.C. selectively used the defacement statute to arrest pro-life activists while allowing Black Lives Matter protesters to mark up property. So again, for all of you who think that, our judicial system is done and there's no hope, and it's like, no. We have to keep using the system that our founders put in place. And the fact that this federal appeals court agreed with the pro-life side on this is a huge step forward. This is a D.C. Court of Appeals.
Yeah, during the height of the BLM protests and all of the stuff after George Floyd, there was a phrase that became very popular, and that was good trouble, right?
Oh, yeah.
Good trouble.
Yeah.
And this is a case of them choosing what's good trouble and what's bad trouble, and it's all politics.
It's 7:54. Coming up, it's our big 8 o'clock hour. We're going to speak with Hans von Spakovsky, legal expert at Heritage Foundation, and also Tom Bevan, Real Clear Politics.